Hey there, in this video we're going to cover how to weave the walls of this handled storage basket. We wove the base in the first video in this series. You can find that in the description below. Today we're going to cover plain weave and twill weave to weave the walls and create a pocket handle for a storage basket. My name is Brittany Stanton. I'm a basket weaver in fiber arts, and the Basket Weaving with Textile Indie channel is all about creating baskets from rattan reed, pine needles, and other materials. You can find an instruction manual for purchase on our website. That's also linked below, that has all of the materials listed as well as the cut list for the stakes and all the information you need to create this basket. You can follow along with me in this video and I'll go step by step in how to weave the walls of this basket, create a handle, and get ready for the rim, which will be the third part in this series. The first 4 rows for this basket are going to be woven with 1/4" flat oval reed. If you're using our kit from the Textile Indie shop, you can pull that bundle of 1/4" wide out, stick it in your water bin so that it gets pliable enough to work with. So I'm going to plant this right on top of that stake, meeting the edge where my upsetting or my crease is. Clamp that in place right there so it's an over where that previous stake was an under. And now I'm going to weave around from this point, weaving, I started on an over, then under, over, under, over, under. When I come to a corner, I'll set this flat against the table and bring these 2 corner stakes upright and weave my weaver, my 1/4" wide, around that corner, creating a crease right where I would want it if this was standing upright. So these 2 pieces create that corner. I've created a little crease in this reed, and now I can turn the corner, continue the weaving pattern like so. And I'm packing this up against the base so that it's nice and snug, and also putting a clamp in, 1 clamp per wall to keep the reed from popping up. Now here I'm turning another corner, so I'll set this on the table, set these upright, create my crease around those stakes like so, and then continue weaving in that over under pattern around the basket. So I started right over here, and I'm ensure that I go around this corner nice and tight and then weave up to my clamp. I'm going to move my clamp over to the end of the side of the wall that I'm on, and then we're going to do a 4 stake overlap. This is the same as my other workshop, so if you've woven any other baskets with me, you'll be familiar with the 4 stake overlap, where we go over the end, behind 1, over 1, and then cut to the far edge of the 4th stake over. So you count where you started the starting end. That's 1, under 2, over 3, and then we tuck behind 4. So that's covering 4 stakes, which ensures that as the basket shifts, your ends don't pop out and show. Now my ends are hidden behind this stake and behind this row, so that it's hidden against the stake, so that you can't see it from the inside of the basket or the outside of the basket. That creates a nice finished edge. Now to ensure that this doesn't pop out, I'm going to move this clamp over, clamp it on top there so that it holds that in place, and now I've woven the first row. Now the second row and every consecutive row from here on, we're always going to 1/4 turn to one side, weave a row from that next side all the way around, do a start and stop 4 stake overlap, and then rotate another 1/4 turn so that we're building that overlap around the basket and evening out and balancing out the width or the weight so that it's evenly dispersed on all walls of the basket, and we don't end up with one really bulky side and the other sides being a lot lighter. So grab another piece of reed. On this side, we're going to come in. We're creating a opposite pattern of the first row that we did. So I'm going to clamp this on top of the 3rd stake in here, like so, and then I went under this one. Now go over, under, and over. Turn the corner by creating a little crease. You can ensure that it's going to pull upright by bringing these 2 corner pieces up and pulling in nice and snug with that weaver so that it's holding the corner pieces up. And now this next row, the second row, is going to pull all the stakes upright. So all the ones that we missed on that first row, we're going to catch with the second row. Your 4 rows of 1/4 inch wide flat oval reed will look something like this, where you've gone around the corners. You have 4 rows here. From the top, the stakes won't quite be pulled in straight up and down. The next segment of this design is 2-to-1 twill. So grab the 1/2 inch wide flat reed. So a 2-to-1 twill means that you go over 2 behind 1. And this is going to feel awkward at first because we were doing plain weave with our last row, and that plain weave is not going to be on pattern with the twill weave. So don't reference the plain weave row anymore, just count the over 2 under 1 pattern of the twill weave. To start this out, we're going to count in 1, 2, 3, and this row right here was an under, so I'm going to land this on top of this stake right here and start with a over under. Now I'm going to go over these 2 behind 1, over 2 behind 1, over 1 and 2 around this corner, behind 1. If you end up going around a corner by 2, make sure you pull snug enough that this corner sits upright as you turn. Now I'm going to move this clamp this row in place, go over 2 behind 1, over 1, 2 behind 1 around this corner, over 2 behind 1, over 2, I'm going to switch this clamp, behind 1, over 2 behind 1, over 2 around this corner, behind 1, like so, over 2 behind 1. Snuggle that up a little bit or tighten this up by pulling on it to ensure that I don't have too much reed and cause a bubble in that corner. I'll replace that clamp and then go over 2 behind 1 around this corner. And then we're back to our beginning, so I'm over 2. I'm going to go over this end, behind 1, over 2, and behind the next one. So our 4 stake overlap in twill weave actually ends up being a 5 stake overlap to account for that over 2. So I'll tuck that in behind. Both ends are hidden now. Now we're going to rotate the basket a 1/4 turn. And now this next one, I'm going to start under a stake and go backwards so that it sits on top of a stake where that previous row was underneath. So I'm looking at this 1/2 inch row. I'm going to go underneath, so I'm over, under. Now I'll go over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1 around that corner. Again, you can set your basket upright. You can crimp your corners to create a nice rectangular basket if you wish, or let it round if you want more of a rounded basket. I'm going to create a nice crimp so that my basket stays more rectangular. Now I'm over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1. Turn this corner. I'll make my little corner crease, making sure I continue that pattern. Corners can be tricky and can throw you off, so ensure that you go over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1 when you come to corners, that you're completing that pattern. Now right here I've run out of reed and I want to splice in a new piece so I don't waste this piece that I've just woven. So I'm going to back weave a little bit so that I end up being on top right here. I'm going to cut this and then I'm going to splice in by weaving back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tuck this under here so it gets hidden behind this stake. Over 2, behind 1, and then over this one and over the next one. So that'd be another over 2. So then when I get back to the beginning, I have an over 2. I'll cover up that starting end, create my corner crease here. Then I'm going to go behind 1, over 2, and cut to the far edge of this next stake. Clamp this in place, rotate the basket a 1/4 turn, and now I'm starting on this wall. Once you've woven 9 rows of 2-to-1 twill, we're going to pause so that we can put the handle spaces in on the ends of the basket before we continue building the walls of the basket. Before we move forward with putting the handle spaces in the ends of the basket, I want you to pack your rows nice and snug. We're going to create 2 handle spaces on either end, or the short ends of this basket. So if you come into the end, we're going to count in 1, 2 on either side, and these middle 3 are the ones that we're going to use to fold down to create our handle space. So we're going to be getting rid of this stake, and this stake. So this middle one, we're going to fold to the inside of the basket, and if it feels cracky or brittle, go ahead and add some water there. And then these 2 outer ones, we're going to fold to the outside of the basket, like so. Now this outer one, we're going to go over this top row and then under this guy and these 2 here. So I'm going to cut this just beyond, and I'm counting down 5 rows here, like so. And now from under these rows, I'm going to push my packer into those rows, lift this up so that I can tuck this piece down behind those rows and secure it so that it's hidden behind those rows there. Make sure that this is centered on itself so that you don't see it from the inside or the outside. I'll do the same thing for this other end. I'm just going to tuck it under these 2 and under this top one. So over this top row, bring your tool under these rows and tuck this under so that it's hidden, and then layer it on top so that you don't see it from the inside or the outside. And then this middle one is going to go to the inside of the basket. So for this guy, I'm going to go over that top row and probably just tuck it behind the next row that it can reach, because it won't go long enough to go beyond that. So I'll tuck it in behind that row like so. And now I've created a hand space on this end of the basket. Now I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing on the other end. So repeat the same process with those middle 3 stakes to create the handhole on this side of the basket. Now with our handle spaces accounted for, we need to weave up further so that there's something on either side of that handle space to build the walls up. By grabbing 2 more pieces, or 2 lengths of 1/2 inch wide, that we're going to weave from one opening side all the way around to the other opening side, but we're not going to fill the handle space. So to do this, fold over a good length, about 5 inches. You can use pinky to thumb as a measuring distance. Fold that over. So my pinky's at the end, my thumb's at the fold. Fold this over like so, and then come in and loop this around that end piece. Now this piece, we want to bring this fold nice and snug, but you don't want to pull it over. So make sure that stays upright. Now we're going to weave over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, like so, continuing that twill weave pattern. But right here, I'm going to come in, and where this end inside hides behind a stake, I'm going to cut this to that length so that it hides like so, and then continue. I want behind 1, over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1, over 2, behind 1. Now here, what I like to do is double back. So I'm going to fold this backwards, making sure this stake stays upright, so I'm not pulling it in too much. Fold over. I'm going to go over that one and behind this next one, looping around. So what I did here was looped back over that end stake, and you'll come in and trim down any pieces that stick out so it's nice and flush. And then I'll go under 1 like so, and you can come under another set and cut further along. I'm going to cut here just so I'm not using up as much reed, tucking that behind like so. So that is 1 more row of 1/2 inch on this side. Turn the basket over, and we'll do the same thing on this other side of the handle. Again, fold over, pinky to thumb, about 5 inches. create a crease in that piece, and then loop this around this other side. So we have our row here. We're going to start a row over here. Now I'm going to go over 2, under 1, over 2, and here is where I can cut this length from underneath. Go under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, under 1, over 2, behind 1, and then keeping this stake upright, I'm going to double back, folding this around, go over 2, and cut this guy so that I can tuck it behind this 4th stake over. I don't want it to stick out, so I'm going to cut it just to the right length so I can fold it under and it'll stay hidden. Now we're going to do the same process, looping the ends around the sides so that we create kind of a border for that handle space, but we're going to shift to using 1/4 inch flat oval now. Grab a bundle of 1/4 inch flat oval, stick it in your water bin, and here I'm just going to leave this in the water bin so that it's out of my way. Okay, so pick a side, and once again we're going to create that 5-inch length, fold this over. Now I'm going to go over the end with my 1/4 inch, make sure it lines up with that 1/2 inch. This stake is kind of curved, so I need to press that in place. You can even come in with your clamp and clamp that in place. Now I'm going to switch to plain weave. So we have an over, under, over, under. I'm going to cut this length so that it stays hidden, over, under, and because of the twill, it's going to feel a little awkward because sometimes it's going to be doing the same thing as that previous row. When you get to the end of this section, make sure that you went over 1, under 1 all the way across, and then you'll loop this end around, and from the inside you're going to go over 2, so over the first one, over the second one, and behind this 3rd one, cut it behind the 3rd and tuck it behind here like so. And then we'll start with our next section. I like to build up the same side until we have 4 rows on this side before switching to the other side. So this guy I'm going to line up with those other ones, clamp this in place, and then for this one I'm going to weave over 2, under 1, over 1, under 1. Make sure to cut your length to the right length so that it stays hidden behind your weaver and behind a stake, and then continue in the plain weave pattern until you get to the other side. And now I'm going to go over these last 2, loop around like so, and then from the inside you go over the first one, behind the second one, over the 3rd one, and cut just beyond that 4th one. So we have this 4 stake overlap. We can tuck that in place like so, curve this around so that your opening looks like this, and your overlap, you have 4 stakes that you're overlapping around. We have 2 more rows here. So we're back to the over 1, under 1. We don't have to do that initial over 2 for this next row. We'll weave that across. I'm going to cut this length down a little bit. Then I'm going to loop around this end, go over 2, behind 1. This one I'm going to cut a little bit further so I can go behind this 5th one under. So I'm going over the first 2, if you look from the inside, over 1, 2, behind 1, over 1, and then behind 1. Tucking it behind this guy right here. So 5 over. Pack that nice and snug so that the ends are hidden and it still curves around. Now we have 1 more row here. So I'm going to fold my end. This time I'm going over the first 2. Once again, and then behind 1, over 1, behind 1. I'm going to cut this length short so that it stays on top there and gets hidden, and then weave down to the other end. And then on this end, we go over 2 as well, fold it around the end, like so, and then you go from the inside, you're going to go over that first one, behind the second one, over the third one, and cut to the far edge of the fourth one over, like so. That way, you have your 4-stake overlap. Now you'll curve these ends so that they curve around and you have that corner crease created or right in place. And now you're going to repeat this same section, 1 row of 1/2 inch and 4 rows of 1/4 inch on the other side of your basket so that both sides are the same height from the handle end. Like this video because it helps me know you like this type of content and want to see more basket weaving videos. Subscribe to get notified whenever I put out a new video, and check out this video for more basketry content. Until next time and the next video in this series, happy weaving!